Are your practices too slow, too scripted, and not preparing players for the chaos of real games? That's where game-based teaching comes in. Instead of running players through mindless drills, you put them in competitive small-sided games that force them to read the defense, make decisions, and execute under pressure. In this video, you'll see three-time state championship coach Nate Sanderson explain the what and why of games-based coaching, as well as an example of a games-based drill. Before we get to the video, be sure to click the link in the description to get access to a free PDF that includes 10 small-sided games for player development, complete with diagrams, descriptions, and bonus tips. Now let's get started.
Now, before we get into the details of how we're going to do this, I want to explain what I mean by game-based. First of all, it doesn't mean that we're just going to play games in practice, and it doesn't just mean that everything that we do is going to be competitive. Instead, what we mean by game-based is we want everything in our practice to be exactly the same or as close to what our players would experience in an actual game, that they're getting that same experience in our practice. Now, before we get into demonstrating some of the games and the drills that we use in our practice, I want to talk a little bit about how you would design a drill. How would you create a game-like context to practice your skills rather than just your techniques? When designing a game-like drill, we ask ourselves three questions. Number one, what is the skill that we want to improve? Number two, in what context does that skill occur in a game? And number three, what's the appropriate challenge for our players right where they're at to be able to practice that skill where they're going to experience just a little bit more success than failure in practice? Now, let me give you an example. Perhaps you want to improve your layups. You don't make enough layups, you get a lot in games, but you aren't finishing them at a rate that you're comfortable with. Well, it's important to look at the context under which those layups are occurring. A layup in the full court, in a transition situation, in a one-on-one or two-on-one, or even a steal and the defender is trailing you and you're trying to beat the defender to the basket, is a lot different than a layup that occurs on a pass and cut, or a layup that would occur when you beat a perimeter defender and then you have to negotiate a help side defender to be able to finish at the rim. Because not all layups are the same and not all game contexts are the same, you have to be able to identify where are we missing our layups? Where do you get the most layups? Is it in transition? Is it in the half court? Is it off the dribble? Is it off cutting to the basket? Is it in an advantage situation? Is it off of a turnover? Because you want to take the situations that you experience most in games and create drills that mimic those exact circumstances in your practices. Now, the third piece of that, when you're factoring in how players make layups and what the context is what challenge would be appropriate. You'll see examples in this DVD of layups where players are beating a person off of the perimeter, a perimeter defender, and getting to the basket. Again, for beginners, they may not be ready for a one-on-two situation. They may not be ready to negotiate a help side defender because they're still learning how to finish a layup at game speed. So we would start those players by going against a disadvantaged defender who's standing up out of a chair and then pursuing that player, let's say on a straight line drive from the wing. But once our players become comfortable with that, it's no longer challenging because they can make it every time. We might move them to the opposite side of the floor and make them shoot with their weak hand. Or we might make it more of a one-on-one situation where the defender is no longer disadvantaged by being in a chair, but they're playing straight up out of a closeout. And the offensive player has to now solve a different problem. The challenge has been escalated to encourage them to grow a new skill. And we would continue on to progress into a one-on-two situation where we have one defender that's disadvantaged or both defenders that are playing live. But the important thing is to maximize the growth of your players is to take the skill, to put it in the context that it occurs most in your games, and then create an appropriate challenge for the players in your gym to master that skill.
Are your players making smart decisions under pressure? If not, it's because your practices aren't game-like enough. As Coach Nate Sanderson says, it's time to train like the game plays. If you're ready to do just that, check out Nate Sanderson's game-based training system, a revolutionary program designed to build high IQ players who thrive in real game situations. The system includes 50 small-sided game-mimicking drills, 6+ hours of practical on-court video teaching, and an ebook with scalable progressions, making it perfect for players of any age or skill level. This was created by three-time state championship coach Nate Sanderson and enables you to capture his championship building methods and bring them to your gym. It's flex-friendly too. It's designed for just 2 to 4 players. So whether you're short on players or have your entire team, your practice stays powerful. Elevate your team, build smarter, tougher players, and turn your practices into game-ready environments. Grab Sanderson's game-based training system now. Your edge this system awaits. Learn more at the link in the description.
For a long time in my career, I used to do a lot of traditional drills in practice. We would do a lot of unopposed shooting, and we would take layups without any defense. And then we would turn around, and on game nights, we might shoot 45 or 50 or 60% in practice, and then shoot 30 or 35 or 40% in a game. And as I was struggling to understand the difference between our performance in practice and our performance in games, I came across a book by an author named Brian McCormick called The 21st Century Basketball Practice. And in this book, McCormick explains a lot of the terminology that I'm going to share with you in a moment to help you understand those differences between a traditional practice, or the way that I used to practice with my teams, and what we do now and what we're going to demonstrate to you in this DVD. The most important thing to take away from this is that we want every action that we do in practice to be similar to what happens in a game, and that means that we have to include defense. Now, one of the mistakes that I made early in my career is I think I confused the term technique and skill and thought that those things were the same, and they're not. When we think about the physical ability for a player to pass or to catch or to dribble, to make a layup or to make a shot, the actual physical skill is really the technique. It's the physical technique of being able to do whatever it is that you want to do with the ball. But the contextual skill means that a player has to be able to do that and perform the same skill at the same level of effectiveness in a game context, meaning that a shot without defense is much different than a shot with a hand in your face. One of my mistakes is that we spent too much time in our practices on techniques and not enough time on skills. So let me give you an example. We would do a lot of shooting games where our players would shoot for 1 minute at 4 different spots on the floor. They would pass and they'd catch it and they'd shoot it, and we would get 150 shots or 200 shots for everybody on our team in about a 10 to 15 minute period. And we thought for a long time that that was effective because we were getting a high volume and a large number of repetitions for shooting in our practices. However, those shots that we were taking were all unopposed. We were working on shooting technique, but not necessarily on the skill of shooting the ball in the context of a game. Think about this. In a game, when the ball finds you in an open space on the wing, a shot is not just a shot in empty space. It's really a decision. It's a decision to shoot it and not a decision to drive the ball or make the next pass. It's a decision not to hold the ball and see what happens in your offense next. Yet in our practices, we never practice decision making as part of our shooting. The decisions that our players are making in games, whether it's to shoot the ball or not shoot the ball, are totally dependent on what they perceive the defense to be doing. The technical term for that is perception-action coupling, meaning that the action or the technique is married to what the player perceives from the environment, or specifically from the defense. If they catch the ball in space and they perceive that the defender is giving them 2 or 3 feet and room to shoot the ball, then the decision is to shoot it. That's the skill in a game context. If they catch the ball and the defender on a closeout gets up in their face, then the decision isn't to shoot it because they're contested, but to put the ball on the floor or to make the next pass and set up one of their teammates. In order to get better at decision making, players have to practice against defense. They have to practice in situations that are random, that aren't scripted out by their coach. Another mistake that I made previously in my career is that I would have players, for example, use a dribble move against a cone or a chair, or even against a stationary player. We would get a line of players, they would attack the basket, and they would do 2 crossover moves and go finish a layup. But the problem was we never played against chairs in our transition offense in any of our games. It wasn't that we didn't want our players not to learn how to do those things. The technique was important, but we also had to teach them how to recognize when those moves were most appropriate. And the only way to do that is to play against live defense. Now, another way to create a 2-on-1 situation here is to do what we did in our individual offensive section by starting a defender in the chair. Again, by doing this, we're just creating a different puzzle for our offensive players to solve. So in this situation, we're going to be in 2-on-1 plus 1. But now, instead of our trail defender starting in the middle of the floor as we did in our last 2 drills, we're going to start that defender in a chair right in front of the basketball. So we have our disadvantaged defender here in a seated position with his back to the basket. The offensive man is going to start by taking the ball out of his hands here and attacking to the outside. So he's going to grab it and then go. As soon as he grabs the ball, defender, you can stand up, and then you're chasing back into play defense, okay? Our other offensive player is going to start, come on in here, Cole, is going to start even with the ball. So he's going to start just inside the half-court line, outside the volleyball line. And as soon as the offensive man grabs the ball, then he's live. And our one defender, again, is going to start on the free throw line, playing live defense from the beginning. Okay? Now, the difference, again, is that our chase defender now is going to be chasing the dribbler rather than just running haphazardly through the middle of the floor to create a little bit of that pressure on the ball handle that you might experience breaking out of a press or catching an outlet pass and trying to take advantage of a 2-on-1 situation. Let's take a look and see what this looks like. Go ahead. Okay, good. Now we'll rotate. So one blue in the chair, one on the foul line. And grab it and go. Good. Now one thing that I liked as these guys are resetting here is that our offensive runner on the weak side there, sometimes we think this is all about the dribbler trying to get separation from this man, but the more aggressive your runner is on this side, the more pressure that puts on the defender that's back. If this guy's just jogging and kind of going half speed, watching to see what's going to happen, then this defender at the foul line can concentrate on stopping the ball or slowing the ball down until that trail defender catches up. But by running hard, right, as soon as you get clearance in a passing lane, which is what we just saw there, we get that nice cross-court pass and a strong finish at the basket, making it very difficult for this one defender to guard both players. We'll show it to you one more time here. All right, here you go. Good.
We hope you enjoyed this games-based coaching video. If you want instant access to 10 small-sided games for player development, make sure to click the link in the description so you can gain access to a free PDF featuring diagrams, descriptions, and bonus tips. Again, if you incorporate these drills into your practices, you will see your players improve throughout the season, making them and your team more successful. Make sure to click and subscribe and then click the bell button so you're the first to know when we release more new videos. Thanks for watching.